Yo, it's Jai. So today here I am with Jathan, and we're just going to be talking about the recent hate crimes slash attacks that have been happening to Sikhs recently. And we're going to focus on like the more recent ones, which I think happened in New York. And also just kind of talk about how like everyone is racist. So Jathan actually posted a TikTok about the recent attack. And the people in the comments were going crazy, just saying crazy racist shit towards black people. Because it was actually a video of the suspect caught and he was actually black. Right, so all the comments were just going absolutely crazy. So let me just read out a couple for you. Harami only kale karte har var, fuddu kale, around blacks never relax, always the same people, gather them up and throw them in the ocean, they can't swim, shoot them in the head, black lives di madilan, and you know, so on and so on. And one guy literally just commented out the N-word, you know. So clearly some pretty racist shit, you know. So, Jathan, I kind of just want to get your thoughts on this whole situation.
I'll kind of go off from here. So, first of all, it's social media, right? Social media, like, there's so much burner accounts, right? And they'll say shit like this, right? A second thing that we are kind of covering is Sikhs have always, and Punjabis in general, have always, like, we've always had to stand our own ground and stuff. So, I think that's the part where they're getting mad at the Black Lives Matter and stuff. And, to be honest, like you said, everybody is racist. What we tend to see as Punjabis is we tend to try to be victims quite a bit. Like, there's always hate crimes against us. Goreta karte, right? Now, if the Scala incident, I'm pretty sure if it was another race, we would be so racist. Like, Punjabis can sometimes be the most racist people out there and stuff, right? So, this is just a display that literally Punjabis can be one of the most racist people out there. Like you don't really see this amongst the Gore, like this much racism. Like if one Gala, let's say, goes into robs a store and kills a Gora, right? They're just gonna, like, the Gore won't be as crazy as the Apne are in this, right? Yeah. And it's kind of sad. It's kind of like we like to play that victim card, right? But just because our community faces this, you cannot generalize a whole entire community for doing this. Like, remember that one video that you even shared? That one that got really popular, has more than 1 million views on that original Sardar's post, who was dancing, right? The Gali basically welcomed him in, and they were going insane, and like it was just a vibe, right? So what about those Gali? What about those Gali? Are you going to be like, do you want to throw them in the ocean too? Do you want to vote them too? Like, are they harami too? So like, it's totally wrong. You cannot generalize, right? It's like with any community. Like, let's say some Muslim, right? There's like a Muslim extremist and like an attack happens somewhere, right? You cannot generalize all Muslims like that. So it's definitely in the wrong in that way. But yeah, I'll let you.
Yeah. So again, it's just like I don't understand like how these people, you know, call themselves Sikhs, you know, or like at least even trying to like defend Sikhs and stuff. It's like when in Sikhi, like you're not really supposed to judge people and like, you know, say all these like fucked up things, right? Because obviously, like if someone does something bad, you know, you should call them out for it, but you shouldn't, you know, just be racist towards them. You know, you can say fucked up shit to that singular person, even that's kind of like whatever, but like the whole race, the rest of the race is like innocent, right? Like you don't actually know who the fuck they are. Like you can't generalize like this. And just like the video you were talking about, right? Like how everyone was just, you know, dancing, vibing. It's like there's, like you could see many examples of, you know, people being dope and like everyone just like loving each other and like being happy and stuff, right? But here, you know, with these kind of videos, you know, people just, I feel like they just need an excuse. Like these people were just always racist, right? They saw this video and they already had that idea in their head that like, oh, black people are weird, black people are criminals, all this kind of weird racist shit. And they just decided to unload. You know, and again, I think like we're allowed to like have these, or what I mean, like we, or like a lot of Punjabis tend to have these kind of thoughts because no one really calls out minorities for racism yet. Like most of the racism, or most of it is like still attached to white people, right? They're like, oh, white people stop being racist, white people are the oppressors, white people are fucked up, you know? And the minorities are often given like a, you know, like a free pass to kind of do some more fucked up things because again, they're minorities, right? And I think we kind of have to like start now, you know, even like focusing on everyone and, you know, just not letting racism fly no matter who says it. You know?
Canada and the United States are becoming more diverse countries, so like it's not like yeah, sure, in the past the victims, minorities always tend to want to be the victim, right? Play out the victim card. Oh, we face racism from white people, this and that, right? But like the thing is, like you said, yeah, it's like it just goes under the rug pretty much. It's ignored. It's ignored so heavily. Like if a hate crime happens, I feel like with hate crimes, people of color can get away with it much more than white people itself. I'm not going to like, I don't want it to go into like another topic, but like that's where I feel like, does white privilege even really exist at that point in today's age, right?
Yeah, true. Because I mean, even white privilege and all that, like obviously it does exist, but it's just like
to some extent, right?
yeah,
but
in like different ways, right? Because obviously now white people are a lot more ostracized, and you know, like they have, like if they fuck up, like the consequences are much worse than like if someone else does, right?
Yeah, especially when it comes to racism.
Yeah, and like another thing is just like how, you know, like people are using like hashtags like, you know, Black Lives Matter. Like people were saying fuck Black Lives Matter. Like how could you support Black Lives Matter after this? Because again, it's just like Black lives do matter. It's just because one black person did one fucked up thing doesn't mean that all Black lives don't matter and stuff, right? And also how like people are, you know, I kind of find this whole like hashtag thing kind of like stupid in the first place because, you know, like me, like I'm kind of a negative person. So when I first heard Black Lives Matter, like my thought immediately went to like, well, what about my life? You know, I'm not black, like, you know, because I think that's like kind of, like depends on your way of thinking, right? Some people will be like, okay, yeah, Black Lives Matter, yeah, like obviously that's a state, like that's fact. And there's people like me who, you know, always think the negative of things. It's like, oh, what about my life? You know, like the more selfish kind of thought, the more weird kind of thought, right? And that's why I think like even this whole like Black Lives Matter versus All Lives Matter thing, you know, it's an issue even in the first place, right? Because like white people, you know, they're like, oh, what about my life, man? Like all lives matter, you know? Why are you saying Black lives? What about all lives, right? So I don't know. I kind of, because again, the stupid thing is like they both mean the same thing, right? But like saying Black Lives Matter doesn't mean that other lives don't matter. They're just saying Black Lives Matter.
It just presents the issue at hand, right? Because like most of the innocent people that are being murdered by the cops are black men, right?
Yeah, exactly. So, and you know, like because when like the hate crimes against Asian Americans were happening, right? Like during coronavirus and like all that, you know, I think people were even using the hashtag Asian Lives Matter, right? And similarly, during the farmers' protest, some people were actually using the hashtag, you know, Sikh Lives Matter. Even again, for now, they're using Sikh Lives Matter too. And, you know, some people say like that take away from the movement, which I kind of understand, but at the same time, it's like, you know, people get so upset about these hashtags when, you know, they forget about the actual issues. You know, they'll be like, oh, could you say All Lives Matter? How could you say Black Lives Matter? When they all kind of mean the same thing, right? When you say All Lives Matter, like, yeah, all lives matter. When you say Black Lives Matter, Black Lives Matter, Sikh Lives Matter, Sikh Lives Matter, like they all matter, right? Like stop Asian hate, like they all these hashtags or like all these things do, you know, are kind of facts, but at the same time, like people, I don't know, I feel like sometimes it's kind of like a marketing game, right? Where people just, you know, I don't know, like just want to get clout off of it or something, you know?
Pretty much. Yeah, pretty much. Like you said, like this is going to trigger some people, but like, yeah, the reason why people are using this in the first place is like the hashtags, like sure, for awareness purposes it can help, but like, let's be honest, hashtags don't do shit, right? Like, and people take them way too serious than what they can actually do, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
for awareness purposes and stuff, but like people take them way too seriously, and it's like, if you actually care about it, like I'm not going to get deep into it, but if you actually really care about it, why don't you actually like get involved with some organization, get involved with something that can actually improve the livelihood, actually resolve the solution? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
because some people are hypocrites when they do about it. Like they'll be race, like you said that in that other video, like there'll be some of these girls, they'll be like Black Lives Matter, but at the other end they'll like be making fun of Indians, oh they're nerdy or they smell like crap or something, right? Like yeah, so like it's like half the people that do it, I would say, are just doing it just because everybody else is, right? Nobody really means it.
Exactly. And like another thing that I think, we've kind of been reminded of like time and time again is just like how people don't really care about like South Asians, especially in like the Western world where like, these kind of hate crimes have happened, but like nothing has really happened, like nothing, no no protests have really been like happening. No one really cares, some people and the only people really posting about it are Punjabis, right?
Yeah.
Now the attack that happened, before the most recent attack, like in Richmond Hill, like the first Richmond Hill attack, like that one actually like did get some decent media coverage, right? I think like the governor of New York or the mayor or someone actually like tweeted about it, and things like that. A lot of people were actually tweeting about it and all that kind of stuff, which I think is good, right? But like again, this attack, the more recent attack, like no one I think gave a fuck about it, right? Except Punjabis, and maybe it was because it was like overshadowed by like the shooting that happened in New York, which kind of happened around similar times. But still, even like farmers' protests and like even the attacks like previously, right? Like the shooting that happened, I think like about a year ago, and like that, where like multiple Sikhs were killed, like in a factory where like mostly it was Sikhs and like a couple of Sikhs were killed, and like the international students that are being killed, like all this kind of racist shit. Like no one's really like talking about it too much. Like obviously, like it goes on the news like a little bit, but like nothing really happens from it. Like all that kind of racism and stuff, it just continues to happen. It's just like, oh, whatever, it's just an Indian dude. Like, who cares? I feel like that's kind of the mentality with like a lot of this kind of stuff, is just like no one really cares too much because it's just South Asians, right? Like, what are you kind of like thoughts on that?
Yeah, Desis have been attacked from a long time. It's like even prior to like 9/11 and stuff, right? It's been happening for a long time, but at the same time, with like people that were posting Sikh Lives Matter, right? I don't think it was really, a lot of people were being upset with that it takes away from Black Lives Matter, but a lot of Sikhs were actually saying, and I actually standed it for myself because I posted a video on it, that Sikhs shouldn't be really saying Sikh Lives Matter, is because throughout history, if we look at our history, we're like a martial people, right? We've always held our ground, right?
Yeah.
So I feel in that kind of sense, that's why it hasn't really grown, is because we don't try to bring other people into it. We're like, you know what, we can actually take care of our own. But like to some extent, right, the farmers' protest, I think, see, that wasn't really related to Sikhi itself, but the main pushers for that farmers' protest, for it to start off, were Sikhs. So I felt like that kind of went off. But when it comes to these smaller incidences, I feel like what has blessed the Sikhs, South Asians in general, right? But if we talk about Sikhs in general, I think what's really blessed us is we've been able to deal with our issues on our own. But what's hurt us at the same time is we don't ask from other communities for our help. So that's why these hate crimes continue to exist in the USA especially, right? Or pockets in Canada where they don't have a lot of Sikhs, like in Nova Scotia, that boy was murdered by four white boys, right? So like that's why there's no awareness. I definitely feel like there's an importance to let people know who Sikhs are in the United States, because there seems to be a big confusion with Sikhs being Muslims because of the beard and turban. Not saying Muslims are bad, but that's what's really shot us in the foot. I would say it's like, it's really hard. Like it's touchy, It's like, should we fight for our own? Should we actually seek out there from help for others? It's like, yeah, like.
And I think to like kind of like wrap up this video, is just like no matter what, like if one person does something, right, you can't judge everyone based off that person's actions, because that person is an individual, and you can't really generalize with anything, right? Because that's just messed up and wrong. So I think definitely, like, a lot of Punjabis, have these kind of like racist thoughts. Clearly, you see from like the comments and stuff, like they just let it out, like just saying the N-word. Like, I mean, some of these kids, people are probably just like edgy little kids, right? Because it's TikTok, let's be honest. But still, people just, like, they don't feel like all this kind of fucking racist shit. They don't feel like embarrassed about it. They're just like, nah, fuck black people. Yo, how dare these people? Oh, look, it's black people back at it again. Like this is just fucked up and wrong, right? So no matter what, we shouldn't, excuse that kind of behavior. Like, that's messed up. We should call it out, when this kind of stuff does happen. And obviously we should, at the same time, hold that person accountable. right? But we shouldn't hold them accountable with racism. And thank you guys for watching. Go check out Chetan's channel. His link's going to be in the description. Peace.